did.
Who's that? Oh, Jessica.
Oh, thanks.
Hi.
I am here.
Reluctantly, she says.
No, I did not say that.
I take it you didn't go skiing.
I did not go skiing, Dave. Certainly did not. All right. I think we can jump in if everyone's ready.
Yeah.
So the first thing I wanted to go over, just to kind of review with you guys, is just a basic timeline of where we're at, because we'll have town meeting just around the corner in no time. So I just kind of printed out a calendar if it's just easy to digest of, I started with March. So I think I put some deadlines in here, and when I create timelines, I always sort of buffer it a little bit. So don't get too hung up on deadlines. There's wiggle room there, but I just want to stay on track as well. So for you guys, you're kind of finishing up your review with the budget. I'm hoping, I just put a deadline of March 21, and then the budget committee will hopefully wrap up their reviews. And then I think I put April 11th for a joint meeting, or anytime by April 11th. I'm not saying, don't get hung up on the dates, okay? It's just saying you have until then. Because then Jeanette and I have to work on a lot of administrative details for like town report and the warrant and orders and all that. And then I put in one of the meetings will determine holding public hearings. I don't know how you guys want to go about public hearings. I think typically we've done maybe one, I don't know if you want to consider doing like multiple ones, and we'll just put out a schedule of hearings to come and then just let people either show up or don't. So I just put staggered public hearings. And then after that, the clerk takes over. She'll post the warrants for the town meeting and everything like that, so. And the clerk had suggested, so she's looking to do town meeting, the election on the 10th, and then the annual town meeting on the 12th. So she can get her stuff in order.
Do we have to vote that in?
No, I mean, so what you guys do is you do have to sign an order when it's a secret ballot,
Yeah.
which is your election for your offices and stuff like that. But you have 30 days. You have to sign the order within 30 days.
Okay.
So I just wanted to kind of give you an update as to like where you are in the timeline. And then from there, we'll just continue reviewing whatever we have left with budgets.
Awesome. I think we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
I think we could make a solid dent tonight. That'd be nice. So, awesome.
Okay, so last time we met, I said the salaries, you had looked at them in detail, and I was going to put them in the report, but something happened, so I hadn't gotten to put it into the report. There's been a retirement announcement for December 31st, 2025, and there's going to be some overlap. So if you look at 1, 2, 3, fourth line down on the very first page, that's where I wrote that in there. So between the salary and the budget for overlapping for 4 months, that comes out to roughly $27,000. So that's the only difference that I made since the last time you guys looked at salaries and benefits.
Help me understand what you mean when you say overlapping.
So we'll probably start advertising in July.
Yeah.
And, timeline. So give us 2 months or whatever. We're not just going to hire anybody. Couple months. So then you're into September, October, November, December.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some 4 months worth of training time in there. And then there's some per diem time that I wrote in so she can come back and answer any questions or, help out if anybody has a need.
All right. I thought so. I just wanted to make sure that we were speaking the same language.
Nope. I get ya.
And so otherwise, this is all the same that we had already talked about.
Correct, that we had already looked at.
That's very, very smart of you. And it's very nice of her to do that, to come back.
Yes. She's thinking maybe a month or two, but then she'll be ready to come back in and help if we need it.
So how is it working with the step increases? Like you had given us this scenario
Mhm.
and then the steps. So,
So if they're currently on step 2, the difference between step 2 and step 3, I figured that dollar amount in.
okay,
And then whatever their current salary is, that's where the COLA rate got figured out on. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense.
well, I was just like, so some of them, so like on this scenario, transfer station manager. So he's at step 4,
Mhm.
going to step 5.
Correct. So if you look at your step scale, whatever the difference is hourly there,
So it says $145.
mhm,
But under the step total for him, there's nothing for that position. There's nothing there, there's just the COLA increase. So does that mean that they're not getting their step increase? Because the total on this scenario is the same as on this page.
there's a total there. Oh, wait a minute. I have to go
Is
down
it the
one.
57,905? Yeah, but so if you look,
Oh, yeah.
so there's nothing under the step, total
I got
step,
you. I see that.
only the COLA.
I need to calculate that in Amber.
And then,
Oh.
you see it? And then- So then the next one down. Okay, so that one's kind of the same thing.
Wait, hang on. If you don't mind. Yep, I do need to fix that. Which one was that?
The next one down? Yeah. So that's the same thing. They're at step 4 right now, going to step 5.
Yep.
But there's nothing in the total step increase.
Yep.
But there's a minimum wage increase, but they're well above minimum wage.
Oh, on that one,
Is that the part-time thing?
that's the part-time thing. So that one, we're required by state law, if they're part-time, they have to work in their salary. They have to work a certain amount of hours, and it's a minimum of pay. So it doesn't really calculate into a step increase. The state, Maine DOL tells us this will be your minimum for your part-time salary people. And that's what that's figured on.
So they just get that, they don't get the step.
It's
I
more
think
than the
that's-
step.
It's more than, okay.
Yeah,
Well, I think that's where the confusion comes, is that it says new step. I think that's why.
Yes.
correct. But we're required whether we do a step.
Right.
If we do a step, it's going to be less than what the state minimum is.
Okay, and then how do you handle if they're going to their last step
but their current salary is already over that step. What is the,
Well, what do you want to do? I mean, because those people were put there before we did the step scale.
well, what are these numbers on the side here?
On the step scale,
Yeah,
I have to yank that out.
So my understanding when we had the step scale implemented was they would get to a max. After that, there's no step increases, just COLA.
Correct, that's the way I understood it as well.
But what she's saying is that some people are over the stepping, like you have somebody and the maximum amount for the step on, say, step 5 is $20.51. But this person's making 22. That's because it was before.
Oh,
There is
So we
one
placed them-
instance
we
where
placed them at step 5
when
on the scale, just because they were already above the scale.
they were already above the scale when they started. Are you looking at transfer station?
so is that why there's no step increase for that one?
Transfer station?
Yeah,
Correct. Because that one particular one was way over when we did that salary survey.
And to that point, you'll end up with a couple more next year theoretically.
Well, because of
they're
the
getting up to
COLA.
step 5 now.
Yeah, because the COLA will keep them on an even keel.
Right.
But there is one person in that category that was above when we did the
Study.
salary survey.
Right, I'm just sitting, what I was just saying is there's a few that based on what we do this year to bump them to a step, we're bumping them to step 5. So next year they wouldn't get a step.
They
would
wouldn't get a
the COLA
step,
at
just
that point.
COLA.
Right. Okay.
Correct. And that one hasn't gotten a step increase ever because,
okay,
is that making sense to you?
yeah,
Because it was way over from the beginning.
okay.
I have my step scale. Where did I stick it?
Yeah. Uh,
So there's a lot of moving parts and I wish it was always simple, but so the number on the very side there,
yeah,
the negative 0.11, that is, when we did the salary survey, I took the total, the minimum and the maximum, and I figured out for 5-year period to step that up. And we come close, but it's not going to be on target.
okay.
So that minus 0.11 that's how close we got. So maximum is 1976. So 1987 is as close as I could get, averaging it out. Does that make sense to you?
Okay. And then I also wanted to bring up something else we had talked last time when I had made the suggestion about dropping the select board stipend down. And Vicky and Joe made a good point about, if you lower that, then it kind of precludes people from being able to volunteer because they don't have that money.
Yeah.
So that got me thinking about, we have the budget committee that gets no stipend. They just totally volunteer.
Mhm.
And so I would like to suggest that they receive some kind of stipend for their time. You already talked about it?
Thoughts from other members? I think you're in discussion. What do you want? Do you want me to add something in there? What would you like me to do?
I mean, I think just a $25 stipend for each meeting that they go to is better than nothing. I mean, if the case is that we have a parent out there that says, oh, I can't go because it's gonna cost me gas money, it's gonna cost me babysitting money. But if they get $25 for each meeting that they attend, maybe that might change somebody's mind about wanting to sign up for the position.
So,
Was it discussed? It's kind of what I'm
We did
hearing.
discuss it at the meeting before last, and we voted not to accept a stipend.
That's why I stepped down as chair. I'm done fighting about it. People who want to volunteer do sometimes need the finances, and
Well, I mean, I think we made a good point here. It kind of like goes against what was brought up here, that if you're volunteering, but we know that some volunteers might need that income, it's kind of like, I feel like there's two different,
Well, would that be applicable to all committees then?
Well, I guess that's where my brain was going, is I just would want to be careful with where do we draw that line, right? Because you can't pay every committee member. I could get behind, I could get behind budget because they're elected and
Mhm.
select board is elected. That would be my logic behind being in favor of that.
could I make a suggestion? Could we do a stipend based, kind of like what we did with the planning board? Because knowing how many meetings they're going to have is going to be a little difficult to budget.
Right.
So if we do like a quarterly stipend,
Or if you just said on average, they have X number of meetings, so let's just throw a number to it.
I mean, we know they
Yeah.
have 4 meetings for quarterly review,
right?
and then maybe
Four
5 or
meetings,
6
yeah. I was
for,
gonna say
for
4 or 5.
budget, and then a joint, so like 6 meetings, so maybe 10 meetings.
10 total.
So then if you throw a number at that,
So it'd be like 250 times, what are there, 6 on there? And I can't do that fast.
so if you do a $250 stipend on an annual basis, is that kind of what you guys are
I can
thinking?
get
That's what I
behind
would be
that as long
thinking.
as we, again, I would only do it for the elected committees, and the planning board has just always been a thing, so. And I'm not in favor of it because we're offsetting it with reducing select boards.
Hate to have you go back and have to redo all.
Well,
the
that's why I'm
numbers.
trying to get a consensus from everyone who's here.
Dave, what are you
Would-
thinking in the box?
Say that again.
What are you thinking about that?
Well, I wasn't until it
Oh.
just got brought up, so it's a little new to me.
What's your gut check thought, I guess?
I mean, it's not, it's certainly not a crazy thought. I mean, they're elected, they put in the time. They do quarterly audits.
I mean, it works out to $1,500.
Can I ask a question? Have you ever heard, like, you know, of people who are not volunteering because it's not a paid position? I'm just curious.
No. But that was what was brought up when I wanted to cut the select board stipend down, that, you know, if you need it and volunteers are not out there because they know they don't get that money, $25 might make the difference to somebody. Who am I to say that it won't, or, you know, so.
Yes, I was just wondering
Just
if
think
you had
it's-
heard that, and there's somebody in the wings that, you know, would like to volunteer.
I mean, I haven't heard it specifically from one person, but I know that I can understand the concept of it, that,
Are you suggesting to offset it with selectmen?
well, it could already be offset because we did go down for the select board
Right.
Oh, I
already.
got it.
We
I
had
got
talked
you.
about that already.
just there for a second.
Yeah.
School board gets paid 25 per meeting, just so it is within the For every meeting we attend, it's $25. And then I did research other towns, and like Waterboro pays their budget committee members, and there was another, it was a while ago I did it, but other towns pay their budget committee members a stipend, same thing per meeting.
So your select board savings is $4,115.
Yeah.
From this year
Mhm.
to the next year, just
So
so
we're
that
still
you have it.
Keeping savings there.
Yeah, so there's still a.
I'm okay with that.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, I'll make that change for the next time that we meet.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Anything else?
I'm good with that. Otherwise.
So we had also talked about training, but I really think there's a lot more training going on now. I really think we should, because we had so many new people for such a long period of time, and now we're stable. So perhaps keeping it where it is and seeing where we are next year,
Mhm.
just for that reason.
Now, I did notice in for the town hall, I'm not sure which one the select board would fall under, but there is not any training for select board. Is that correct?
No,
Oh,
there's,
no, okay, MMA training board, so, okay,
yeah,
okay.
yep.
I don't know why I didn't see that. Okay.
Are those the only two changes you want me to come back with?
Um,
That's all I need. Unless anyone else has anything.
None of that.
Do we know what is been spent already for health benefits? Main PERS match?
Whatever I have in here, I can go get my report from your last meeting if you want.
Yeah, I tried to look, but I couldn't find it. Oh, well, no, because these were older ones.
I can go get it, Amber.
Okay, if you,
It's built on, so Maine PERS match, I know who is in Maine PERS. And like I said, we have I think we've hired new positions every single year.
Mhm.
So there were a lot of unknowns when we did the budget because we knew we would have to hire somebody. So do we put it in at 6% or do we put it in at 10%?
Yeah.
So I put it in at 10%. Other than that, for the people who are here and they're in Maine PERS, I take their salary and I figure it out. Does that answer your question or do you want me to go get the report?
I guess if you could send me that information, because I can just, like, in my own head. bring it
Okay.
up when we have the joint meeting, if I have an issue with
Because
it.
sometimes, so like, I'll budget for Maine PERS or budget for Maine PERS, but then the person takes 457. There's nothing, I have no idea who's coming in and what they're gonna
Yeah.
choose.
Right.
So, and we did budget this year, so we knew what the first 6 months for health insurance was, but we didn't know what the last 6 months was gonna be. So we budgeted that at 10%, and it came in at 9%. So I have a little bit left in health insurance, but not like before.
Okay.
But I
And so
will,
the increase in that going up from the 116 to 159 is because we don't know what insurance new hires are gonna need?
Well, we
no, it's the
can't-
last 6 months.
Yeah, well, it's the last 6 months.
Their
but it's
calendar
also-
year.
We don't know what people are gonna choose for the benefits, and we can't dictate to them
Yeah.
what to choose.
Yeah.
But we
So
also don't know
it's
what
just-
the benefit rate is gonna do for the last 6 months.
And that, yeah,
Yeah, so their calendar year, so I know what July, August, September, October, November, December is. But what we don't know and what the wild card is January to June.
Mhm.
So typically I figure in 10% because that seems to be a pretty good number, especially when that things are high. Did come in at 14% on me once, not here, but that has happened. So that's where we try to figure out where we are. But I can email you those numbers as well.
Okay, yeah, you can. And I'll-
Yep.
I think that's all I had for those, whatever we were gonna be, that didn't go to the budget committee already.
So just to go back to health insurance, we will have 4 months of overlap there as well. I did figure that in as well.
Okay, so that's, okay.
Yeah.
That's where I was like, what, like almost $43,000
yeah.
increase, that's. where
Plus,
I-
we have that new position.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then that's what, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So yes, I did include the 4 months of overlap for health, 4 months of overlap for dental, and main PERS for whoever might come in the door, because I just don't know.
Mhm. Okay.
So there's 4 months of overlap there as well.
Okay.
And then the new position. Does it make more sense now? Okay. I'll still get you those numbers.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anything else in salary and benefits that you want me to come back with? Okay. So general admin, we haven't done general admin because it's been Trio versus SoundCloud. So in order to move this forward, I'd like to recommend that we budget for SoundCloud at $15,000. There's $7,500 in the computer reserve that we're asking for. And you have some money left in your computer reserve account currently. So if we decide that SoundCloud's not going to cut it and we need to stay with Trio, the ask is, let's budget this way, but if we end up staying with Trio, we'll come to you and say, we need money from that computer account because we need to make up the difference for Trio. Does that sound like a plan in order to move things forward?
Well, the computer account has what, 13,318 in it? Is that correct?
Correct.
The other thing this will help out with is the RFP you guys are looking at for the cost tables. And when talking with the bidder who submitted the bid,
Yeah.
they're very familiar with Trio, and TownCloud being very new, they're not
Mm.
familiar with working with that system. So as we're doing the cost table updates, and even if we do switch to TownCloud, there may be an overlap with Trio, because we're working on updating those cost tables before we can move all the information to TownCloud.
So there's a lot of variables in the air. But I think if we do this, we'll have the money for whatever the variable is that we need to do
Out of the computer reserve.
out of
if
computer
that's-
reserve.
Yeah, we're talking about pages 8, 9.
Pages 8, so Trio versus SoundCloud is on page 8.
Mhm.
And then page 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and it ends on 16.
So just, bear with me, just trying to follow this.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, we had under Town Cloud, 25,731.
Mhm.
Now we're showing 15,000 there. You got, go ahead. 7,500 farther on down.
Yeah.
In the reserve account. There's a difference of 10,731. 600 of that is a trail camera subscription. I don't recall us.
Oh, in this account?
I don't recall us discussing that before.
So
I
that's been in the budget because of the vandalism that happened at Bunganut and Kennybunk, and we
Okay.
didn't have surveillance cameras then.
Mhm.
So we still have them. I think they're nice to have. I've shut off the subscription. But if something happens, we may want to put those trail cameras up at like Bunganut or something.
So we had 23,000 because that is basically what Trio costs
Mhm.
for annual subscription.
Mhm.
15,000 is what we agreed to for 5 years
Mhm.
with TownCloud.
Mhm.
So we're still up in the air. We don't have a solid answer. In order to move forward, I'm recommending, and stop me if it's still confusing, I'm recommending we budget the 15,000.
Mhm.
We have the 7,500 to go back into the computer account from the 7,500 that we took out of it for TownCloud.
Mhm.
So if we decide, if we come to the end of the year and we're like, nope, TownCloud's not going to work for us, then we can ask money from you guys to pay the Trio
Okay.
dollar amount. If we come to the end of the year and we need to do some overlap because of the cost tables, then we can come to you and ask to take that out of the computer account. So I think to move forward, that was kind of the best plan. I'm open to options.
Okay.
If that has to be the option, do you have to then pay for another year of Trio, or can you go month to month?
We should be able to go month to month.
Okay.
But I will confirm that.
Have we talked to any of the other TownCloud towns? Like, have they updated their cost tables ever?
Well, so my understanding in talking with Ravi is
Too
that
new.
it's very new. So some of these town cloud towns have like opted into it, but they're still developing a lot of the software. So they're not, I don't know if they're fully emerged. Am I saying this correctly? And jump in if I'm not.
So they're fully working in places like Colorado and things like that. And each state has something different or something peculiar. So they're working on developing a front end where they're working with B&V, which we're going to see next week. They're working on the assessing and how Maine does their assessing. We are unique where we have assessors in a town versus state assessors who rotate around. So they are up and running and fully functional and have been around for a few years in other states. They're still developing some of the main quirks. So that's where I wanted to clarify.
Okay.
So they're a new company, but they're not a really new company.
Right.
Are we all set with the town cloud versus, that's how we need to move forward, and any other suggestions, I'm open to hearing them.
I think that works.
Okay. So any other questions in general admin?
Did you print out the thing I sent?
Yep, I did.
Which is under? Do they have a copy of it?
Yeah, and it's even the blue copy.
Cool. So I think one of the workshops I talked to you guys, I was going to look into like some of the devices because periodically I check in with Bean Data just to see where we're at. And so I got a list of there's like 5 devices that don't routinely get logged into, and I'm assuming they just don't get used. And then I included in there, another one was the select board devices, because some of the things I've noticed over the years is I mean, some people are going to use their personal emails, or they're going to use their town emails, or they're going to use both. And it's hard to know or manage which of that they're going to use. So I think in some cases, you know, we've paid for subscriptions and laptop devices and stuff, but it didn't always get utilized. So it's just, I wanted to put that out there. There's definitely at least 4 or 5 accounts I think we can kind of cut off that aren't being utilized. I did do like a trial program. I know a lot of committees and volunteers are asking over the last couple of years with budgeting, they wanted specific email accounts and stuff, you know. So I did a couple group emails, because doing individual accounts, whether it's just the basic or it's the suite, there's a dollar value to that. It's very costly. And when you subscribe someone to a Microsoft account, you are committed for a year. So if they decide they're not going to use it, or they resign or whatever, or you know their term is up and you switch over to someone different and now they need an email account, you're stuck in that year contract with Microsoft for that email. So I did a couple group email ones. They really didn't get utilized. So some of them, like some of the groups, I did train them on how to use this and how to log into it and access, you know, emails and stuff like that. And then one of them did not, you know, they said they would take me up on the offer, but then I never heard from them ever again. So I didn't even get an opportunity to train them. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close out those group ones and say, you know, we tried. And then a couple straggler, like I saw a registrar one that's floating around out there, like we can close that one out. And clean those up to help in that area. So
Lindsay, the ones that you intend to close out: comprehensive plan, planning board, voter registration, parks and rec, and the ordinance review committee.
unless you guys want to look into any other ones. Another thing to consider too is if you have a town email. So the issues I run across is sometimes finding information, like as different select board members transition, sometimes they may take with them information on their personal email accounts, and I don't have any access to that. What are you shaking your head for?
No, because that's just bad.
I know, and I don't
Sorry.
know that it's always intentional
No.
either, to be fair. But, you know, so the thing is a lot of stuff comes up with FOA all the time, and, you know, I've had this conversation with the ORC, for example, when they had a draft shoreline zoning ordinance thing floating around and it got FOA'd. And, you know, they went back and forth with me on it as I was going through the FOA request. And I had to explain to them that, you know, the reason why it got FOA'd is because you distributed it among other parties and employees. And so then somebody knew that it exists. And so that's kind of how FOA kind of works. If you have a town email account, but you're using your personal one and nobody knows you're using it, then the public doesn't know to FOA certain information if they wanted to, because they don't know it exists. They know your town email exists. So that's, you know, an issue I've run into is trying to obtain information from maybe board members that have, you know, terms have ended, moved on or whatever. And so sometimes it's challenging, but in reality, there's no way you can mandate people from like not using personal accounts either.
Right.
I think it might have been the budget committee, I'm not sure, but some people have come up with a great idea where they just create a separate Gmail account. So just specifically for their town role and business, which is free and simple to do. If all you're doing is kind of like email transactions and stuff.
Yeah, like what we did with charter. Or is it
Yeah.
Gmail for,
Gmail, charter.
yeah, and then,
Just we could use lovely Google Drive, which burned us in the end. We won't go backwards. So,
I think that the real point is you don't want to have your personal advice in a judge's chambers being looked at by somebody else because the FOA request went that far.
Yeah.
And I have heard of those things happening. So
so are the numbers that are on this spreadsheet minusing these out?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
so none of those are minused out on the spreadsheet, I believe.
No.
So I had Brendan kind of do a analysis.
So if we were gonna cut those 5 out, what part would that come out of?
The
Would it be the technology?
Office 365.
Okay.
Page are you on?
Page 8.
The reason that sometimes
Mhm.
we use
Yep.
two is because we have to be in here using.
Yeah, that's fine.
This is the thought, because I can't figure it out.
So the Office, yeah, there's Office 365, but there's also remote managed services. So if you have a
Mhm.
device.
Right. If you have a device. I don't think any of those people have a device.
The select board does and planning board does.
But the ones that
That we're removing.
we were looking at to remove, I don't think
The
they have a
planning
device.
board
Well,
has
planning,
one.
yeah, planning board. Looks like
The
they would
planning
have.
board.
They have a device?
Mhm.
Oh. So that would be removing one of your devices.
Just to be clear, we're looking at option 2 on this paper, correct?
Yes.
Whatever option you guys want. I'm not,
But that's what we're discussing right now.
Yeah.
We're to remove those specific 5. is what I mean. I know
Yeah.
you're not telling us what to do, I just.
right. I think, I mean, I'm gonna move forward with cleaning up any that aren't being used.
Right.
And I know Michelle says, you guys can't get here all the
Yeah.
time to use it, but we also have the acceptable use policy, which makes it difficult to
Right.
issue volunteers and stuff, emails and accounts, and then because we get into the 2FA and how do we manage that? And for a cost-effective way of trying to manage it, the best I could come up with is like a group laptop with a group account. But I don't, how do I issue that to specific people random times of the day?
Right.
So we would take the $2,040 out of the 6630 from the Office 365?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, and then we would just take one device out of the technology line, but we wouldn't know,
That's 720.
is that the 720?
Mhm.
Yeah, it ends up being $720 a year because it's $50 per
Oh,
month
okay, so
per
we would only
device.
take 1320 out of the 6630. Okay.
But 2,040 altogether.
Yeah,
Okay.
altogether, yeah, I'm just trying to figure
Just
out.
making sure. I'm like, those numbers aren't on my paper, Amber. I don't know what you're doing out there.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I
I
don't know
just.
what my,
I'm on board with that.
yeah.
Dave, are you good over there?
I'm good as long as I, get to keep the,
We're not disconnecting you.
there you go.
You get to stay in the box
Thank you.
anytime.
So it's option 2, set 2040.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't have it in front of me.
Sure.
Okay. What else do we have?
Page 13. We have in there $1,000 for transfer station stickers.
Yep.
Can we change that instead of it just being like Vicky had made that suggestion about having a universal sticker that people could use for transfer station in Bunganut?
It's all in how we design the sticker.
Yeah.
Because then that would keep, we wouldn't have to issue something to somebody at Bunganut. They It would
I mean,
all
the
just be the,
The contract we're looking at for the Y is if they're gonna manage, if they're collecting the gate fees in lieu of payment, I just put it on them to determine how they want to deal with passes. You know, Lyman residents versus non-residents,
Yeah,
because they
okay.
used to just print up their own little paper passes and that's what you had. The stickers, I think I'm not sure which company we get them from.
Edison.
Edison. So I think we could modify our design and give the proof to Edison and basically say, can you print this?
yeah, I was just
And-
thinking like, I mean, if it just said town of Lyman, something, you know,
Right.
like
Mhm.
then. you know,
Resident, yeah.
Put it on the,
Color or something.
yeah, like a different color every year or something, then
Okay.
that's the sticker.
Yeah. So are you looking to increase the budget or
No, I think.
just working within the $1,000
Yeah, just working
to?
within that 1,000, if.
Yep.
You know, just change it.
I'm not sure if Sue's already ordered them, so,
okay.
She just did.
okay, so it might not be
Not
till,
for the.
Oh, it might
we'll
be
use
the
it in the next budget, but yeah,
dog
we have
cards
to,
too.
That would be this budget though, right?
yeah.
And then with for tax bills, from 900 to 1,600.
The person who was doing it, no longer doing it.
Okay.
So we
that's
had
gonna
to
be
get a new
somebody
vendor.
else. Okay. And then on page 14 and 15, for the other mileage, the rate is now at 70 cents.
Yep.
Instead of 67, so is that taken into consideration in?
We have where were you? Oh, so it depends on how many miles they do. And it could go down January 1st. So it's just, here's a number and we're going to stay within this number, but I wanted to let you know what the rate was as well. So it's not factored down to a mile. This is an estimated cost.
But we've based these numbers on 67 cents?
Now, these numbers have always been an estimate, not based on a specific number of miles.
Yes, I understand that. But if you're estimating mileage and you're basing it off the 67 cents that we have on here, when right now the rate, so for the
It
rest
changed.
of this year, it's 70 cents.
Right.
So if January of 26, it goes up, are we going to have enough for mileage for the last part of the year?
I think we should, Amber.
I think when I look at the
Historically,
historical
yeah,
actuals.
we've done pretty
right.
good.
Yeah, that gives us 21,000 miles.
Well, I'm just looking at the spend, right? So what the actual spend has been in the past.
Well, yeah, because here we went over, in 22, we went over by $95. 23, we went over by a lot. 24, we went over what the actual was. We budgeted 8,700. But if the trend is that we keep going over it,
Right, I'm looking at this actual spend, so like 3,095, 7,154, page 14. 7,104 in 2024.
Yeah.
And then I see that we're budgeting 14,960.
Right.
That's where I feel okay.
We're coming with it. We're doing more of a reality check. And with more trainings. So in 22, trainings were virtual. They weren't in
Mhm.
person. 23 came back up. And with each new person, each new department head, they do things differently.
Okay. I mean, I'm just like, I just don't want to be like, oh, look, again, we're over,
Right.
Yeah.
No, I
So
hear you.
Well,
that's my.
We've gone up quite a bit there. So I don't think that's
Okay.
going to happen. Famous last words, but a budget is a best guess estimate. I can't say it. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
And then for committees, could you also, when you email me the totals from the other ones, can you also tell me what's been spent for committees so far this year?
Yeah.
Out of the 4,500 that we budgeted.
Well, that's the comprehensive plan is mostly in there. That's what we've been spending.
Yeah.
Anything else in that section? Any changes you want to make? Just deduct the 2040?
Yes.
Okay. So it comes to 184,294. Do you want to take a look at this again, or do you want to move it to the budget committee?
I'm on board, moving forward.
Yeah.
Go back.
I feel like we'll see it again anyway when we
Somehow. we
do
will.
our joint one, so.
So elections is done. Where's my list? There it is. General admin insurance, you've moved to the budget committee. Contingency is with the budget committee. Animal welfare is done. Health and Human Services is with the budget committee. Roads, you've moved to the budget committee. Buildings and grounds.
Budget committee already approved.
Yep, budget committee is all set with that. Transfer station. So we talked about the transfer station a little bit last time. Amber had asked about the refrigerants. So I looked that up, and I changed it. We spent $800 last year, and it looks like we're on target for this year, maybe a little bit more. We have to add the nozzles for the propane tanks to be removed. So that's going to be a little bit more. So I lowered that to $1,500. I'm on page 34.
Thank you. Okay.
So I lowered that to $1,500 from what it was. And then on tipping, we talked about the tonnage. So I've lowered that down to the tons that we discussed last meeting. Same for wood tipping. And I think that was it for our discussions. Okay.
I'm good with that.
I'm still not sure about the composting money. I kind of want to say get rid of that because I'm so hopeful that the money that we save will come out of tipping and recycling. But
It's okay to be hopeful.
I know, but then I'm like, what if I'm
We
so
can't take the
hopeful?
money away.
But then we take the money
Sorry.
away and then,
I-
yeah, like, okay. I'm okay
I
with
can't
that.
put that much faith in others.
I'm good with that.
So you guys ready to move that to the budget committee?
Mhm.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Dave, were you on board with that?
I am.
Glad you did that because I thought you fell asleep for a minute.
No.
Okay, so Parks and Rec, we talked about Parks and Rec last time. Page 39, you had asked me to change the new position programs, whatever, from 2,000 to 1,000, so I did that. And that was the only change we discussed.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good with that one.
Dave,
I'm good.
move to
Sounds
BC.
really good.
Okay, reserves, equipment reserves. Page 40 at the top. The computer reserve, this is the $7,500 that I was talking about. And there is currently 13,000 in there. So I think regardless of what our decision actually is, that we would have the money to move forward. Are you guys, these are individuals, so you guys ready to move that on?
Mhm.
Yes.
Compactor reserve, so a couple of years ago, we got into long discussion, and thanks to Ken, he gave us some great information.
Just
Um,
last year.
I know.
Mm.
So, yeah, that's how it's going, Jess, I'll tell you. So I put in another $7,500 keeping in theme with what we discussed. Move to BC.
Yep.
Building reserves, so for the last few years, the town hall reserve, there's been 50,000 in CIP. There's been 10,000 that we've been putting into the reserve account. We haven't like fully utilized the 50,000. So I merge it, seems like it should be more in a reserve account. So I merged it with this and we increased it a little. Lindsay can fill us in on where she's at with that, but I think we're going to start moving along a little faster now. You want to speak to that?
So I'm not sure when we'll get some approximate numbers on plans and costs and permitting and such, but I mean, because we're still sort of waiting on the deed and stuff to get finalized, but now that things are moving forward, the architect and engineer will start to finalize those plans. And so I'm hoping to maybe set up a meeting with them at some point or get more information from them. And maybe mid-March, I'm not sure yet, depending on how quickly they can get it done. But they might be able to give us a little bit of a timeline, the actual plans, and a scope of what it could approximately cost. So, and I have no idea what that potential could be. And I wish I could tell you more on it, but I can't.
Jen, could you just tell me
Yes.
the computation of the 100,000 there? Because in the previous printouts, it was 60,000.
Correct. So Lindsay and I spoke on, so the 50,000 from the CIP
Mhm.
and the 10,000 that we always put in. But then Lindsay's getting a lot closer to getting things going on that. So we added another 40,000 to that.
And I'm not sure the amount we paid the engineer, but I know we put it out to bid. I thought they came in around 50,000, which is why we put 50,000 in the CIP, because it was we call it the town hall next phase.
Mhm.
And it was for that bid. They haven't, they submit invoices routinely as they do the work. So if we're closing in on that, we may be, I'm not sure where we're at as far as what we've spent, but
So we've also talked about if we're not, we close in like, say July 2nd, we're also going to ask to put a warrant on the article on your warrant to say, could we roll over whatever's left in this year into the town hall account for next year,
Mhm.
which is probably what we should have done last year, but it just didn't happen.
As of the end of last month, the current balance is 43,685.
Right, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I'm good with that one.
I'm good with that.
Move to BC.
Pull that up, yes. Dave, you on board?
I'm on board.
Okay. So then we're down to the revaluation, and that's the regular revaluation. It's not the cost tables. So in looking at what came in for the cost table, we said, okay, 200 might not be it. So we changed it to an estimate of 300. So I'm at 38,000 with what we already have stashed away for that.
We're in year 5 of 10.
I know, it was that long ago.
And we,
When we do this budget, it'll be 5 of 10. So it's for you.
Yeah, we talked about that last time. That's good if they can be about
Move to budget committee.
Just a quick question on
Yeah.
the reserve at South Westboro Road. I know that, again, has been closed out.
Yes,
On the previous printout, we had a balance of 101,123
the money's been moved into the general fund.
into the general fund.
Yep, into fund balance, like the article said. Can we go back to reval? So you guys ready to move that to budget committee? Okay. Yeah, I hadn't changed last time we met, Joe. I hadn't changed those values
Okay.
on your printout. And what the current one was, it still said 24 on it. Okay, equalization, we're gonna have to put that one on hold. Lori recently, well, this morning, sent Lindsay and I an update, which next
yeah.
select board meeting,
Yeah.
I believe.
I mean, basically, obviously, as you guys know, the bid came in a lot higher than what we'd anticipated. So when we were planning for this, I think we were anticipating like 70,000 or something like that.
that was
So
about
this
it.
was based off of that, and it's pretty much almost doubled, almost. So we're gonna need to probably increase that number if we're gonna move forward with updating the cost tables.
But you can discuss that at your next meeting.
Yeah.
Previously, there was, for this particular line, 187,500. And I now see 282,384, a difference of 94,884.
Mhm.
Now, I believe that is comprised of additional 54,884 for the equalization project.
Yep.
On the next page, page 42. And seems like for Franklin Park, that amount has been increased by $40,000 from 20,000 to 60.
Correct.
Correct.
And then $100,000 for Daybird. I mean, the
That,
Cousins Bridge. That's your
so,
increases. But because you vote them all separately, we have to do them separately.
mhm.
So 15,000 for capital improvement.
Right.
I'm good with that. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Joe, Dave,
Well, just, I'm sorry. memory's failing me, but I can't recall us jumping from 20,000 to 60,000 on
Oh, we're just
We're
talking about
talking about-
capital improvement. We have to do these one
Yeah,
by
we
one.
have to do each one, Joe. They're separate warrant articles.
So all we're talking about right now is capital improvement for 15.
Yeah, so the
Oh, okay,
20,000.
my apologies, yes,
See,
okay.
we're just gonna go line by
Yeah.
line.
Yep,
I'm
okay.
with you on what
Sorry.
you said. No, you're good.
So resident disaster relief for 5,000.
Mhm.
Yes.
Everybody's good?
Yep.
Okay, Bunganup Park, there we go. So we reached out to, Lindsay did, to all of the departments and all of the committees, and we asked them, what do you need? What do you need for budget? And we asked them a few other questions. You feel supported, all those, everything came back really good. They've requested 60,000. And that's how we got from 20 to 60, Jeff,
Who's they? You mean the committee?
the committee.
But looking at our committee?
Yeah.
Only.
For
Yes.
that line.
What for?
Well, yeah, I guess that's my point too, is that I don't know that we've,
It's actually in your packets.
Yeah, so the questionnaire I sent that they filled out is in your packets.
isn't, this committee ends in April, right? Like,
It does.
I'm not, yeah.
You know, probably, I mean, early in the fiscal year when these were sent out, I mean, a lot has changed since then.
Well, we very much appreciate the 20,000 we did receive. We would like to request 60,000 for the upcoming budget season. The current allocation covers the cost of the report from the engineering services to simply assess the current condition of the park and provide professional advice on how to remedy each issue. The remainder of the funds to be spent on projects addressing safety concerns that can be executed by the committee, hopefully without contracting additional resources like landscaping material and tools. Contracting services for larger scale projects beyond the capability of the committee members will require additional funding for the next fiscal year. With labor and materials being very costly and ever changing these days, 60,000 would give us more room to complete tasks we have started on, while also provide us the opportunity for larger grant matching and reaching out for other services.
And so
That was what they wrote.
even though the Bugnut Committee may have put in that recommendation, you know, it's like none of this funding is anybody's special budget. So it could just be, you know, they may recommend it's for X, Y, and Z. And you guys can change the dollar amount, decrease it, increase it. It can be put in that reserve account, you know, and for whatever you'd like for Bunganup Park. I mean, maybe circumstances can change over time, and so maybe another committee like Buildings and Grounds or Parks and Recs identifies another issue and brings forward to you guys other recommendations.
So basically, we gather all of the information, and we put the puzzle together for you. And then it's up to you guys to decide what you want to do. What is your goal for next year?
What have we put in that one this year?
20.
20?
I'm not on board with 60 without a plan of what 60 is gonna go. I just think that's a lot of money. And I know that we can sit and say, there's so much stuff that we can do over there. But we've been saying this all year long, and I think what I've seen for action items have been things that have been, like, people have gotten donations of materials and things like that, but I would just, I'm not on board with 60.
Never mind.
Can I tell you what's in the loop is,
I have all the papers of all the things that were thought about.
right, but I mean, even like the park, it was not just water, water slide was talked about, but even like the parking lot, fields.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues there, which I think the committee, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, was speaking to just be able to keep track of funding expenses in one spot.
Mhm.
And that's what the thought process was.
Yeah, I get it.
I think a pavilion would be lovely down there. but I think we should pursue grant money before making commitment to a project that expensive.
Well, it's not like there's a specific project. I mean, it is overwhelming to try to figure out.
I
that
just
whole
think
part.
that whole place is so up in the air. Like,
Yeah.
we don't know if the Y's coming back, we don't know about fields and maintenance and all the things that we're just trying to wrap our arms around. That's a large chunk of money to me, so,
I mean, do
I'm
you
willing to say
wanna-
25.
Yeah, I
what
was
I'm
gonna
willing to throw
suggest
out
you want to decrease it to the 20.
And anyone else can speak if they feel differently, Dave or Amber, I just.
Yeah, I think the park deserves an influx of money.
I
I think, you know, I think we're sitting on something that can generate, like the Massapequa Little League had recommended and the Soccer League recommended and probably 15 people that called me recommended, you know, tournaments and, you know, things of that nature that could carry that park and carry the Little League and Soccer League. And, you know, there are ways to do it, but unfortunately you got to spend the money to make the money. So I'm torn in that. You know, I want to invest in youth sports, and yet, you know, you got to get it to a place where it can, you know, you can, you know, maybe hire a full-time position to bring that whole thing together. So, you know, the Little League doesn't have to pay, the soccer doesn't have to pay, on and on, you know.
Yeah.
That's my knee-jerk reaction.
I think I kind of feel similar, like a little torn myself, because it's like we don't have a solid plan. And I think we've struggled, you know, over the years to kind of come up with one, you know, and my thought process around, you know, we've run into so many issues with like the salt shed this year and just so many different things coming up that it's like, I'd love to maybe work on building those capital improvement plans, you know, and then figure out how we're going to fund it in the years, you know, maybe kind of start at a lower number and build into it. I just think we're not going to revitalize everything overnight.
Right. I can be on board with 30 and meet halfway. To me, that's just too much money without a better grasp of what we would do with it.
I think 30 is a rather high number without a firm plan. I think $20,000 is a rather substantial investment.
I didn't hear that, Joe. $20,000 what?
Is a substantial investment, particularly if you're thinking of the possibility of in-kind matching funding. That would be, I think, a more than healthy amount to provide as a match for any grant application.
For these non-lapsing reserve accounts, so if we voted the 60 and we didn't spend all of it, it would
Stays
stay in there for Bungana. So my only thinking is that if we have the new position and this person comes in, has some great ideas where we could really start generating money, but we're gonna need money to put into it, but we don't have that money. That's where I feel like, yeah, I don't want to ask for $60,000, but it feels like we've just kind of let Bungana just go down and down and down because we never have money when we need to go back and fix something.
So I don't know exactly so we had the 20,000 this year. We've spent quite a bit of it. And it feels like they were kind of big projects, but they're small. Like we've cut some trees, we've cleaned up some invasive species, we've, you know, rebuilt a bridge, replaced a shed.
We did the stairs on the side of the concession.
Yep, we did do the stairs. So there's been a lot of like little, and it's amazing how expensive this stuff is.
Yeah.
So it's challenging because it's like,
I would be in favor of 30 for Bungana. just to give the person with the new position and then the Buildings and Ground Committee kind of room to try to figure out something that, like,
Maybe-
I mean,
And
volleyball
it's-
courts, we already know that they need to be updated if we would want to be able to rent them out.
Yeah.
But if we don't have money to do that, then.
Quite honestly, even being able to have somebody to come up with a better parking plan.
Mhm.
And maybe that is something that they put forward, somebody puts forward for next year. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just, without any proposed actual plan. I just can't get one.
I think it's, I don't know, I think it's too big to have an actual, like, I think it needs to be sectioned.
Mhm.
And one,
I think it's overwhelming. I mean, I
Yes.
like, it's a lapsing account, so I mean, maybe, you know, it doesn't all get used. Maybe, you know, it's not gonna stop us from applying for grants. But obviously, I think it's just the planning and the, you know, trying to figure out what to do over there. It's gonna be year after year after year.
It's a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think regardless whether or not we do have a facilities manager position filled, I think the incremental approach that we're taking with Bugnut, I think has been pretty effective. So again, I think a $20,000 investment would be sufficient.
30, and I don't know where Dave's at.
where are you at, Dave?
Well, what's consensus? 20 and 30?
2 for 30, 1 for 20.
I'll go with 25.
I can appreciate that. I'll go on 25.
Okay, yeah, I can go 25.
Joe?
20,
Go majority.
25.
That's fair.
Yep.
Thanks, Dave.
Sold.
Okay. Fire hydrants. I put in 4,000. Matt did spend quite a bit this year. And he's working, I know he's been working with somebody to help him through this.
I'm on board with that.
I'm sorry, just back up just a little bit with the equalization amount. Again, that was increased by 54,000. That is, purpose of that is so that it's more in keeping with what we probably will be paying for that project.
Well, we didn't even talk about it because you guys will talk about it at your next meeting.
Yeah, we just got new information this morning
Yeah.
on what the actual amount will be. It'll be slightly lower than what they bid on, but regardless, it changes what we initially planned on
Okay.
putting in year after year.
So I'll bring that back to you at your next meeting. So we're on the 4,000 for fire hydrants?
Are they lower than 4,000 now?
Yeah, they're at 2,376.
Well, that's the balance. But
Yeah.
What did it cost the last fire hydrant that got installed?
Like 6,000.
Yeah. How many more do we have to go? Was it 2?
I don't know if there's a set amount.
I thought the chief said 3.
I think he'd like to have at least 3 because then the water tanker doesn't have to go as far to get water.
Right, so they only put in 1, they want 2 more is what I'm saying.
But I think just given the time it took them to do the one, I think, it took a fair amount of time this year for him to investigate a spot and then find out it wasn't gonna work, or investigate a
And-
spot, like,
Yeah.
2 or 3 different
He had
spots
to-
that weren't
I think
gonna.
He hired a consultant.
since we've both
Yeah,
been
I
here.
Mhm.
This is our first one in a while, so I.
So
I'm
to
okay, 'cause
avoid
this gives
peaks
him
and
enough to do
valleys.
one.
Are we moving forward with 4 or
That's good.
still
Yeah, I'm good with that. I mean, that's what,
Yeah.
good, Dave?
that's what Matt
Yeah.
requested, right? That's not, or
That's what we've done every year.
Okay,
Mhm.
but he
So-
hasn't come back and said that he needs more or anything like that.
He hasn't said anything
Okay.
to me about it.
No, he had that same contractor that was gonna do all three, I thought.
Yeah, but they gotta find a space.
He did 3, but it was part of a project among different towns, and we were the third one, I believe.
Yeah.
That's the way I remember him explaining that.
Do you want me to talk to him and I'll bring it back to you?
Yes, because I don't wanna underfund it.
Yep.
Please.
Yeah, I gotta talk to him about some other stuff too. Charter Commission, $1,000.
Yes.
I'm okay with that. Can we just, somebody wants to make a mental note for next year? Just look back at what Charter Commission spent the past time, because I don't think we spent
Yeah.
that much money. I
Yeah.
know we're
No,
finding
you
it so that
didn't.
there's something there, but I think we had like $10,000 or something like that. We
Yep.
Spent like 2 or 3 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys didn't spend that, but I think the commission prior to you spent about that.
But I also think that was in a world where there was a lot of printing and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm okay with 1,000 to
Yeah,
keep
I
that
think that-
going, but I think it's something that could kind of
Mhm.
maybe tone back a little bit.
Okay, Day Road Bridge, Cousins Bridge.
We didn't have a choice.
I know, yeah.
Let's be real.
Collapse.
Well, I think we came up with a good
Yeah.
plan to get it within the 3 to 5 years.
And this is essentially a 3-year plan. So I think
Yeah.
right now, and you guys have asked a few questions on the warrants about Haley Ward. So they're finalizing the engineering plans. It'll help us figure out the permitting and everything. Once they finalize those plans, we'll probably be better at getting a more actual number, because without that, Tom and I couldn't get actual numbers. So this is based on a ballpark, but it's something to get us started. So maybe we get those actual numbers once we get the design plans, and we can share them with other vendors and get the actuals. And maybe the next budget season, that'll go lower. It could possibly go higher too. But this was just to get us off the ground, because we want to just keep this moving forward.
Any expectation when Haley Ward will be finished with that?
I think they're wrapping up. I think they went through like a flu issue in their office. So they had contacted me
Yeah,
a month
that-
ago, and then I didn't hear anything. They're like, sorry, everyone's been sick. So it's that time of year, but I do think they're kind of wrapping up with it.
So we're sending that to BC.
Is there not any, did anybody check into any kind of grant or matching fund or anything to do with this large project?
Joe did, and he found a stream crossing grant, but I don't know the particulars on it. Joe might have looked into it. I think if we're planning on doing this in 3 years, we might not want to apply for a grant right now, because I don't know if there's a time frame. You have to implement the work X date, get it done by this.
Yeah.
Although if Joe wants to continue
I'll look again.
looking into it, maybe there's some more information.
Mm-hmm.
So a stupid question. So for the next 3 years, you work your way towards that number.
Right.
And in year 3, even though you sort of have most, if not all, the funds, can you still go for a grant? Are they going to give you a grant?
Why not?
Okay.
They usually don't. In my experiences with grants, I've never come across, well, you already have the money, so we're not even looking at you.
Well, that's kind of where I was going with that.
Yeah, I've never once come across that, Dave.
Okay.
I have come across where, okay, you're not first in line because your grant didn't get here. Your grant app, this is going to the 3-year COP and fire department. Your grant didn't get here before the other grants, so you need to come back next year. I think we went through that with the lights, but I've never ever once had them say, no, you already have the money. So no grant for you. That would be that would be a first for me, and I've been doing grant stuff for a long, long time now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. To BC? Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Town Hall General Admin, we took a look at it, but the piece of the puzzle there is the contract with the Y. So until I think we have some more definitive answers on that, we got to kind of move that forward. Outsource other you sent to the budget committee. Other CIP, and we're at the end. Isn't that awesome? So page 47 it starts, but it really starts on 48.
So can you back up a little bit?
Yeah.
On page 43, contract with legal services. We've got 19,000 there budgeted. Then on page, correct?
Legal service, yep.
And on page 44, we have another 17,200 budgeted for legal services land use.
Planning.
Right. That would be for legal expenses for the ZBA, Planning Board, and Ordinance Review Committee.
And for if something goes on with the code office.
Yeah.
Planning falls under all of that
Okay.
code.
How much have we spent on legal services to date?
For the town,
For the town and for for land use, which would be,
okay, I'll get those to you when I get the other numbers to you, Joe.
okay, I'm just looking at. we've got,
No, that's
again,
okay.
17.2 there for the CEO, et cetera. And we've got 19,000 for town business and assessing.
Mhm.
And it seems like I know it's fluctuates,
It does,
But,
depending on what's going on.
just the last 3-year average is 13,013 for town business. I know it does vary, but I don't see how much we've spent on legal services for land use here.
Because that's a new category.
We
Category.
started that back
Excuse me.
when that LD, 2013 or whatever it was.
2003.
2003.
Yeah, that came out. That's when we started that category because we had no idea, what we're going to be doing. I know the state of Maine is looking at legalizing,
Psilocybin?
huh?
Which one?
Mushrooms.
Yeah.
So that might be something where they're going to need some information on that. Don't stop drooling over there, Lindsay.
Not talking Portobello, sorry.
So, I mean, it depends on what's going on at the time. But I will get you those numbers and email them off to you.
Just kind of
Yeah,
how it compares. Okay. And I'm sorry, did we get the reimbursement from the state for legal services incurred through complying
So
with?
we talked with the state, ORC, and myself, and they said we didn't qualify for it. They didn't want to give it to us. The changes, one of the changes we didn't make in the ordinance is there's a road frontage requirement.
Right.
So if you're doubling up, so if you, you put a duplex or multi-unit or something, you have to double your acreage, which is allowed under 2003. But what's not allowed is enforcing, increasing your road frontage. And our current ordinance says you have to increase it by 50% if you're adding multiple units. So that one little bit of language didn't get removed. And so they said, we're not in compliance. I know. And it's too bad because it all went through ORC, it went through legal. It
Yeah.
went through every process it could possibly go through. And it would have been like $700.
So,
So while we can't finalize that section, do you have any other questions on that section?
Let's see. Are we on page 44 as well? Yeah, jumping ahead. Just the 12 grand for the cemetery committee for tree removal?
Yep.
Well, number one, that would have to go up to RFP, right?
Mhm.
The amount.
Yes.
And is the removal for safety's sake, I would think, as
No.
opposed to aesthetics?
It's so they don't fall onto the headstones and break them.
Their plans. I saw them.
Yeah, they put in what they have left to do, and they put that in their questionnaire, which is in your packet, I believe. Depending on what they get a quote for, I mean, if it's less than 10,000, they may just have to get quotes, or over 10,000, they'd have to do RFP.
Mhm. Just be a little more concerned about branches coming down on heads as opposed to headstones.
Oh, yeah.
I see the point, but I think public safety is a little bit more of an issue. And if
I have to.
branches will be coming down at some point in time, if it's, it's a diseased tree, something like that, no problem. It's viable. Got a little bit of got some misgivings about that.
I think they do go through and they do clean up branches and things that they can handle themselves. It's just the bigger stuff that they can't do.
Would you like them to come in and talk to you about it at your next budget meeting?
I think they gave a pretty good
Okay.
thing of what they're.
Well, that option is always open to you guys if
Yeah.
you ever want. Hopefully Lindsay and I did what we're supposed to do and we
Yeah.
can help answer all of the questions, but
I think my only point on that, I think it's great and they put together a really good detail what they want to do. I think it's just, we have to make it clear. I know in the past, there's just been some confusion as far as like our purchasing process and submitting POs for $9,999. And then saying, oh, no, we still have to do all this stuff and we don't have enough money. So I just want to be clear, like, if that passes, that it's this amount of money and this is how we allocate it.
Yeah, no more of the $4,999.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and if they want to do this much, it just makes sense to just put it out.
Just
And then you
put it-
know what
yeah.
you can or can't do. Like, it might be
Yeah.
a bid bust and you might have to go back and reduce your scope, but.
Yeah.
anything else in that section?
Well, again, just to like communicate to the cemetery committee that removal of trees for public safety, no problem.
Oh, no private trees? I just didn't catch the last end. I'm
No,
sorry.
for
No.
public safety
Oh,
reason.
no problem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Um,
I don't understand that. Sorry.
Well, as opposed to just, there's the possibility that this branch may come down, this over this headstone. That's unfortunate.
But that's what the state requires the towns to take care of is,
Yeah, the veteran
So
ones
if
you
you-
have to take
Veterans.
care of.
Okay.
You know,
so they're not supposed to take care of anything that isn't a veteran's. Like when they went to, is it Chadbourne Cemetery? That is the private one
well,
that
that's a privately run one, yeah.
that they used their money on, which they shouldn't have, I feel. But I don't know about the public safety thing, because I don't think that there's not a lot of people hanging out in cemeteries. So like, if you hear cracking, you're probably, I don't think they're worried about public safety versus,
Yeah.
they're worried about them cracking the headstones. And then like the one that they fundraised for, because they had to fix it.
That was because a car drove up on it.
Yeah, but
Well,
the town
that's
was still
because
required to take care of it.
It was the wives of the veterans, which aren't covered under the law. Yeah.
that's what it was. the Veterans Association or VA was gonna
the
replace the
veterans.
headstone of the veteran.
But not the.
Oh, okay,
But
so
not the
fundraiser
others.
For the wife.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think Joe's, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're walking through Bugging Park and a tree's gonna fall on your
I
head,
would be
They-
worried.
they'd
about
rather
that,
take
yeah.
care of that than
Mhm.
falling on a headstone, if that's correct.
Right.
Any more there?
Let's see.
Do you want me to remove that before we review it?
Not necessary.
Okay.
And the amounts that we have planned for Southern Maine for the Ordinance Review Committee, 23,000, and for the Comprehensive Plan Committee, 26,250, correct?
Correct.
And there will be some description of the deliverables that Southern Maine will be providing for those amounts. I know, technical service granted, but they're going to just review our ordinance review, our town ordinances for us.
Yeah, so again, in your packets, all those questionnaires and breakdowns of what other committees have filled out for what and why they're asking for stuff. I think originally, they were asking for quite a bit more, if I recall, for the ordinance review. I think the ORC, just understanding, like, they really need to do a revision of your
Yes.
ordinances, your shoreline, your map, everything. And then the issue came across with your comprehensive growth plan, because you really can't put the cart before the horse.
Granted.
And so then timing of it is a little wonky too. We went to SMPDC, we said, can you get us our comp plan done up in like a couple of months? And, they said, absolutely not, we can't. They're too stretched thin for
Mhm.
staffing and, demand on them from other municipalities. So, they agreed to work with us within a year. What they'll get done, I don't know. I mean, they're another one that sort of bills as they go.
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on how we do with that comp plan, if we can get maybe something kind of baseline done in a year, then ORC hopefully can start hitting the ground running again. Which SMPDC, they're hoping would come in and help assist them with some of that. So it really depends on the timing of the comp plan and what we can accomplish with that. And that's another overwhelming, daunting task as well. You guys have been working on it for a few years.
I would think what Southern Maine can provide in the way of assistance on the comprehensive plan for the topics of housing and land use
Mhm.
would be a basis for which they can hopefully maybe concurrently start working on
Yeah.
the zoning ordinance.
I would think so too, but I don't work for SMPDC. I mean, I just kind of go with what they provide us for their scope
Mhm.
of work, and we've sat down and met with them, and that's what they've explained.
Any others?
Nope.
Okay, you guys want to move on to CIP? So the heading's on page 47. Everything else starts on page 48. The very first one was the town hall next phase, which I moved that to the reserve account, as we
Mhm.
talked about. Computer, I think we're caught up with our schedule, and now we just need to catch up on smaller things. So that's down a little bit. And office equipment, we're looking to get a new desk with the retirement. That was a recommendation that they had. Master locks, we need a new generator. Dugout roof,
The generator,
big
so,
picnic tables. I'm just highlighting.
okay. Well, the generator, I just wanted to point out, because of the town hall expansion, and again, there's a lot of variables and kind of unknowns. We've been talking about the generator for at least the last year and a half or so. I remember last year we talked about how we recently discovered it doesn't cover your heat. So if you lose power for more than a couple of days, there's no heat for the building. And so this one I'm kind of on the fence on. It's like, maybe we wait until we move forward with bigger plans for the building, or maybe we, deal with that issue now. So I did get a quote. It was $17,000 to do the upgrades you need to do. And I also got a grant for $3,000 through our MMA risk management pool, which helped offset that, which is why she put in for $14,000. So I'm okay with pulling it out if you guys don't think, we should really go down that road because of all the projects we have lined up ahead. But because it's also been a discussion over the last year and a half, 2 years now, that I wanted to look into that and just understand what it would take to do it.
Would this new generator be sized for a larger town hall, particularly if we think of uses of like a cooling and a warming station?
Yeah, I think when
The
I
only thing I did was I copied you gave me the quote, but I didn't copy it.
Oh, okay, I don't have the quote in front of me. But back when I asked the electrician, so there's the generator needs to be increased, and then my understanding too, and I don't know if this is part of the quote or not, but the panels also need to be upgraded, because we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. If we wanted to put the heating system on the panel, then we gotta take something off of it. So I don't know. I'd have to go back to the electrician and ask them. I just remember there was a quote, and it was quite a while ago when we got it.
What happens to the grant if we don't get it? Just goes away?
It goes away in October of 25.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right?
October of 25.
Can you use that for something else under the same risk management category?
Not
It's-
without permission.
Yeah, it's possible I can reach out to them. It's typically for, and I'll have to look at the grant thing. It's typically for safety type things. So I kind of use the generator as an example of if we lost power for several days and the pipes freeze, that creates a bigger burden on our property liability insurance, and it's through our main MMA risk management pool. So those are the things they kind of look at. That's why they offer the grants, to mitigate potential insurance claims.
I only think okay, we put $14,000 into it now. When we do the town hall expansion, we're gonna have to update the panels
Yeah,
again. The generator is probably not gonna be sized to fit that building.
Mhm.
So then we would have the expense of another generator.
So I don't like this, and I'd love to say, let's wait, and then when we design the expansion, do it the right way.
Mhm.
But I also don't want to lose power and have
And
pipes
have-
burst.
yeah.
And I know that that's between the time it's gonna take to design it and the time that's gonna take to actually have funds to build and do anything. I think that this is not as big of a deal. And I think that that's also, if we have an asset management process where we could even sell it if it was, we're done with it, but it's still useful or whatever, and recoup some of that back. So I'm okay with this.
okay.
With the current generator, is there any value to that could come with the selling it?
What was the question?
Could we sell the current generator?
We probably could.
And sometimes the company that comes to take the new one would offer you
A discount,
You don't
yeah.
have to go through the rigmarole of trying to figure out how to bid it.
Yeah, I just wanted to get a dollar amount in there to understand, what it might take. So, again, maybe something we have to put out to bid, but typically what I do, we start with asking the questions, we get a quote, or we, ask a professional. And so this is just a dollar amount to kind of get that discussion going.
It would be nice if we could acquire something that would prospectively take care of the larger building. But, Just got quite agree that that's kind of down the road.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I mean, I don't like it, it's just.
yeah, I don't like it, like, yeah, you don't want to lose power and have the pipes
Because we
burst,
talked
and then
about
you're.
it, that's what we'll.
Yeah.
Actually, if you go to MMA and read their newsletter, the first column came out yesterday. The first column is a very frozen, very wet, very iced up basement.
Just had a 2-4 flood.
Did you see that? Yeah.
Not that one, but at my own place of employment, so
Yeah.
nobody wants to deal with that.
All right, well, if you guys want to leave it in there, we can leave it in.
Let's get looking at it.
Yeah.
So are we good to move this to the budget committee?
You mentioned the dugout roof.
Okay with the desk?
That's for the front,
That's right.
but out here, we're students.
Either that office or that office.
'Cause we can
Whichever
move
one.
desks around, so, but hers is falling apart, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The
Yeah.
doors are falling out.
And that can obviously stay in the space from being another big or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about what are the master locks?
All right, so we endeavored into the MyRec program.
Yep.
And we talked about that at a previous workshop before, and how we kind of manage it. For right now, again, it's like things are in the air and, plans will be developed going down the road. But these are the master locks that we have an account with, because we have
Like
one
out
here.
front?
No, there's in the hallway. So this is a,
Yep.
it's similar to that system, I
So you
guess.
get code, right?
Yeah, it's a code, but actually it's a Bluetooth. It's on your phone. You download an app, you put your phone next to the lock, and it opens it for you, provided that we've granted access to it.
Mhm.
So it was just a means of like, if we were going to rent out the Pines, like how do we make, I don't want to give a combination code to everybody and
Or
then
any
have
of
to
the
change
fields,
it
really, at this
15
point.
times. So this is a way that if someone was doing a reservation online, then we could grant them a code, and if they reserve it for a Saturday, I can make that code applicable for that Saturday. So whether they show up or they decide to come back later, it's only gonna work for the time that they reserved it. And then we don't have to change the code continuously or share it with multiple people.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then dugout roof, and maybe this isn't the packet, so I apologize, but is that based on a quote?
Yes.
Yes.
Then I'm good with this.
Mhm.
The picnic tables
Mhm.
for 1,500, are any that we heard from Karen the other night about the grant with that she's doing with Parks and Rec for picnic tables, and does that cover any of these?
Well, this is 10 at 150, so it was like the Home Depot ones at 150. And she was looking at industrial type ones, and I think the deadline for the grant was like March 5th.
13.
And it's not awarded till June.
Okay.
I think we put in for 13 altogether, 8 regular, 5 ADA compliant.
Yeah.
So I think altogether we got, what, 50?
We have a lot.
Yeah. 50 there, but
So-
probably
so-
25 of them are.
Retired.
Gotta
Yeah.
go
Some of the
to the
force
trash
a
can.
bunch.
So are these wood picnic tables again?
No, we
No.
These
talked.
are the,
The 150 is like, it's got a metal frame and it's composite,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
so. Or at least that was the price last summer.
Yeah.
Will it be the price again? I don't know.
It's a crapshoot. So we moving this to BC?
Yes, please.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all for playing.
Yeah, done as much as we can.
So we do need a meeting to clean up the few that, we didn't get done, salaries and benefits. Is the Y on the next select board meeting?
No, I have not heard back from them, but I did reach out to Andy today and he said he was meeting with his board tomorrow. So hopefully I'll have more information by the next select board meeting. And then also just kind of a reminder too, like I know we're getting this wrapped up and it looks like, what, maybe one more meeting, we'll have it all done. So it's just for ease for me and Jeanette, so we're not going back and forth and back and forth. If you guys kind of, this is your final, and then it goes to the budget committee, and then you guys have your joint meeting.
I can't promise that.
Okay, that's
Sorry, I
fine,
can't
but
promise
yeah, just. Are you guys looking to schedule a workshop? You want some dates?
Yeah. Does the 6th work?
No. Sorry, it's already been grabbed.
13?
No. I got the 4th, which is a Tuesday.
Actually, you know what?
I got no Thursdays, it looks like. Hold on. This one.
About Monday the 10th? Is there a meeting?
No.
That doesn't work for you.
Okay, Monday the 10th is open.
What about Tuesday the 4th? Did you just say Tuesday the 4th?
I was looking at the wrong,
Tuesdays.
I was
You
looking at the
can't
wrong
do
month.
Tuesdays.
So I do
Right.
have the 10th and the 13th.
Oh, okay. 13th.
Is it the 13th?
Yeah, I do have that, sorry.
Does anyone else like the 13th?
That's fine.
Dave?
Dave?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep. 13th was
Dreamy right there.
You're at 6.
6 p.m.?
Perfect.
Okay.
I should probably put it in my phone and not on this random paper calendar. It passed me out. Where's Jessica? Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
It's not a random calendar, that's your timeline.
I know, but I was like, I started writing in select board meetings.
Lynn's like,
She's like, why did I miss all these meetings?
Yeah,
Oh, it's on
right. Everyone's like, what happened to my girl? She just stopped doing her job. Awesome.
You guys good?
I'm good. Is everyone good?
I'm good.
Bye, Dave.
Thanks everyone for
Bye,
joining
Dave.
us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.